Minneapolis spring real estate market forecast. So everybody talks about the Minneapolis spring market like it's one thing. Well, let me tell you what, it's not. There's the early spring market where smart buyers have leverage and prepared sellers actually win. And there's the late spring market where great homes get bidding wars and average homes get buried. Today, I'm going to show you exactly where the spring market pressure lands first, which timing window matches your situation, and why most people are playing the wrong phase entirely. So, Minneapolis market snapshot. Here's what everybody's telling you. We're sitting at roughly 7,700 homes available right now, which sounds like a lot until you realize that's still way below the 5 to 6 months that is considered a balanced market. Back in 2021 and 2022, we had around 5,000 to 6,000 homes available on the market. So there's more choices than there was, but buyers are active and picky. Sellers are competing more than they realize. Price, condition, and location all matter again. Also, we're seeing homes sit for around 50 days. Buyers have time to think, compare, inspect, and negotiate. The median sales price is hovering in the mid 300s to low 390s range. Year over year, we're seeing modest appreciation of around 3%. All of that is to say that we're still technically in a seller's market, but the leverage is shifting depending on the home, and that's the critical point. It's not shifting evenly. But hold on for a second, because we're going to talk about timing later. I'll show you exactly which weeks in the spring give sellers of average homes their best shot, and it's not what you'd expect. So understanding where this pressure lands first becomes critical to your strategy. Now listen, if you're thinking about making a move in the Twin Cities this spring and you want to know exactly how to position yourself, whether it's buying or selling, I work with families and professionals in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area every single day who are trying to time this market correctly. My contact information is in the description below, and we can put together a strategy that's specific to your situation and your timeline. Right now, let's get back to it. So, where spring pressure starts. Picture a home near Lake Harriet that's been updated in the last 2 years, listed by March 1st. By March 5th, it's got multiple offers and sells over the asking price. Meanwhile, a comparable home 3 miles away with dated finishes sits for 60 days. That's spring pressure in action. Spring demands does not land evenly across Minneapolis. It starts with well-located homes. I'm talking about properties with walkability, lake access, or proximity to strong school districts. Think of Linden Hills near Lake Harriet, or areas of Edina and Minnetonka where schools are ranked number 3 and number 2 in the state. Wayzata Public Schools are number 1 in Minnesota. These homes get showings from emotional buyers who have been waiting all winter. Updated or move-in ready properties trigger this demand. After a long Minnesota winter, buyers don't want a project. Homes with updated kitchens, fresh paint, and modern finishes create the illusion that everything is selling fast. But here's the catch. When people say the Minneapolis market is heating up in the spring, they're usually talking about the top third of listings, not the whole entire market. The best homes, they actually move very fast. Average homes are still sitting, negotiating, and working through inspection issues. What makes a home well located in Minneapolis? The chain of lakes area, which includes Makasaka, Lake Harriet, Lake of the Isles, and Cedar Lake. You've got walking and biking loops around each lake, access to Grand Rounds National Scenic Byway, which is about 50 miles of connected trail systems, or Northeast Minneapolis with over 300 artisan studio, the Art a Whirl Festival in May, and tons of breweries. The western suburbs like Eden Prairie and Minnetonka with amazing schools see families competing hard because they want to be settled before the next school year, which naturally leads to the question, what happens to homes that don't check all of these boxes? So where the spring market falls apart? Well, the best homes are collecting offers. There's a house that's been sitting for 45 days at the same price the seller's neighborhood got last June. Every week, that gap widens, and the spring isn't fixing it. Overpriced homes stall, dated interiors get skipped. That "we'll see what spring brings" pricing strategy always backfires. Spring exposes 3 things: unrealistic pricing, deferred maintenance, and sellers chasing last year's number. homes. Unrealistic pricing happens when sellers look at what homes sold for last May or June and they think they can get that price now. But when a home is priced at 10% or 15% above what the market will bear, it doesn't get showings. And quite frankly, every week that goes by, that home becomes stale. Deferred maintenance is the second killer. Buyers are coming out of winter looking for easy and not a project. When they see outdated bathrooms, old carpet, a kitchen from the 1980s, they're doing the math. Okay, I need to spend $30,000 to $50,000 just to make this home livable. They're either offering way below asking price or they're moving on. If your neighbor sold for $425,000 last spring, but the market's saying your home is worth in the low 400s now, fighting that costs you time and momentum. Time is not your friend when you're overpriced. Spring usually highlights problems in Minneapolis. When inventory ticks up in March and April, buyers are getting choosy. That home that might have sold in January with some forgiveness is getting passed over for something better in April. Homes that struggle in spring are the ones where sellers waited for spring to solve their problems instead of addressing them beforehand. Preparation now determines whether you ride the spring wave or watch it pass you by. So knowing these pressure points matters, but there's another dynamic that's at play that determines who actually wins in spring transactions. So buyer versus seller leverage. Let's call it the spring shift. Right now, buyers still have negotiating power, inspections matter, sellers are flexible. Buyers can ask for inspection repairs, negotiate on price, and include contingencies without getting laughed out of the room. But as spring progresses, great homes gain leverage fast, average homes don't. Leverage concentrates. If you're a buyer looking at a beautiful updated home in Edina near Southdale Center or a home in Linden Hills with lake access, by April, you won't have the same negotiating power. Multiple offers, they start coming back. Sellers get choosier, inspection contingencies get waived again. But if you're looking at an average home, your leverage probably improves through the spring because that home's competing with 20 others that just hit the market. This is the nuance most people miss. They hear the spring market is hot and they think the entire market is hot, but really it's segmented. The top tier is hot, the middle and lower tiers are still very much negotiable. And I will tell you exactly what this means for you. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, you got to stay with me. You don't want to miss this advice. But first, you need to understand when this leverage shift actually accelerates. For sellers with a top tier home, waiting until late March or April could work in your favor. You'll catch that wave of peak buyer activity. But with an average home, listing early, like late February or early March, gives you less competition and more serious buyers. And timing that positioning correctly is what separates deals that close from months of frustration. So, spring timing. In Minnesota, spring kicks off in late February or early March while there's still snow on the ground because buyers don't wait for perfect weather, but for daylight and momentum. Now through early March is the best balance of choice plus leverage. Fewer competing buyers. This is your strong negotiating window. Buyers have time to think, inspect, and negotiate. Sellers attract the most motivated buyers. Late March through April is when the listing surge happens. Seller confidence builds and tons of homes hit the market. Buyer activity spikes. Pricing mistakes get punished quickly. If you list in late March at the wrong price, you'll get buried by 50 other homes. You got to nail your pricing and presentation. Remember, it's called spring cleaning for a reason. Please give the whole house a good scrub before you put your listing up on the market. May through June is the peak competition for the best homes. Faster decisions, less room to negotiate. Sellers historically receive 100% or more of their list price in this time period compared to 97 to 98 in the fall and winter. Family with kids wants to be settled by summer, so May and June become this intense push where buyers make decisions quickly. This creates leverage for sellers of desirable homes, but this leverage only applies to the top tier. Average homes in May and June are still sitting. Timing isn't about picking the perfect week, it's about understanding which window amplifies your specific advantage and positioning it accordingly. So knowing when to act is half the battle. The other half is knowing exactly what to do with that timing advantage. So what does this mean for sellers and buyers? numbers. Here's the reality. 14% more homes are projected to sell in 2026 compared to 2025, which means the competition you're avoiding today will be unavoidable in April. If you're selling early, realistic pricing wins, preparation beats waiting, spring rewards preparation, not patience. The sellers who win prep their homes in January and February. They paint, update, stage, clean, and price accordingly from day one. When they list in late February or March, they capture buyers who have been waiting. Don't assume spring will fix your problems. If your home needs work, it needs work. If it's overpriced, it's overpriced. Spring just exposes them faster. If you're sitting there thinking you'll list high and see if someone bites, you're gambling. Every week you sit overpriced, you're losing buyers who would have paid market value. For buyers, acting early avoids bidding wars. Flexibility creates leverage. Waiting for certainty usually costs you more. Right now, you can tour homes without competing with 10 other buyers. You can negotiate, you can take your time with inspections, but if you wait until April to see what inventory looks like, you'll be fighting for the same homes as everyone else. You need to get pre-approved now. Know your numbers. Know what your neighbors are targeting. When the right home pops up, be ready to move. In March and April, hesitation costs you homes. In May and June, hesitation costs you money. Flexibility matters. Maybe you want to Edina, but you find a comparable home in St. Louis Park that's in the 350s to the 500s range, and St. Louis Park is positioned to boom with the Green Line extension opening in 2027. That's a smart pivot. Or maybe you wanted a new construction but found a beautiful updated existing home in Northeast Minneapolis that gives you character, walkability, and saves you $50,000. That's flexibility creating value. Mortgage rates are projected to ease through 2026, but prices are still appreciating modestly. What you save on interest, you might lose on price if you wait too long. If you're waiting for some perfect moment with no competition, low rates, and falling prices, that moment doesn't exist, and it hasn't ever existed. The perfect time to buy is when you find the right home at the right price you can afford. There is an old saying, the best time to buy real estate was 10 years ago. The next best time to buy is right now. For sellers, pay attention to days on market in your area. If comparable homes are sitting for 40, 50, 60 days, that's telling you something. Make sure they're priced competitively from day one and that your home shows well. Buyers are making decisions fast. The difference between capturing spring momentum and missing it entirely comes down to whether you're reacting to the market or positioning ahead of it. Minneapolis will be active this spring, but activity doesn't equal opportunity for everyone. The people who win are the ones who understand where pressure is building before it shows up in the headlines. If you're thinking about moving, buying, or selling this year and want a clear plan, not just a generic piece of advice, but a real strategy for your specific situation, shoot me an email at team@hhgus.com. We've been doing this for over 25 years. We've helped over 3,600 families buy and sell real estate in the Twin Cities, and we know this market inside and out. Spring is coming, and it's going to separate the prepared from the hopeful. Check out the video I've linked here, and I will give you insider truth about living in Minneapolis. You'll want to see that if you want to take advantage of this spring market. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next home and on the next video.